So what I want to do now is I want to spend a little bit of time on the project manager. And I'm going to invite up to the front one of our project managers, Nathan Larson. He has been with the company for 6+ years. I don't know the exact number, but he's helped our clients purchase hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties. And he's very knowledgeable. He was a financial planner with, who are you with?
Fidelity.
Fidelity for several years prior to coming to us. He's been a bank manager. He knows finances and he knows real estate. He's also a real estate investor. And he's a phenomenal individual. We appreciate all the work, everything that he does here. And Nathan's going to take a few minutes and talk to you about the project manager and what makes that so unique to Done For You Real Estate and how you can best take advantage of that element of our program. So if you wouldn't mind giving a round warm applause for Nate coming up.
All right, thanks, Steve. So he asked me just to talk about the project manager and what we do here a little bit. And to do that, I just want to share an experience my family and I are going to have in September. So we've been planning a trip to Nepal. And Nepal is where Everest is, if anybody knows that. Now, we're not going to climb to the top of Everest, but we're going to actually trek to base camp. And if anybody knows about base camp, that's at like about 17,000 feet or so. And as Steve and some of my coworkers can tell you, I'm an avid outdoorsman. I love backpacking. And as a matter of fact, we're heading on a backpacking trip this weekend and so forth. So I love to backpack. But to kind of illustrate what a project manager does for our clients here, when I go to Nepal, I'm going to a country that I have never been to, and I'm taking my family with us. And actually, there's a big group of us that are actually going there. And we have a guide there, or a porter, a mountain guide is what they're called. His name is Jagat, and he's a really cool guy. But his job over there is to guide, especially climbers in the right season, up to base camp so that they can, scale Everest, basically. So long story short, I mean, I consider myself a pretty good expert when it comes to being outdoors and backpacking. I'm a gear junkie. I'm always buying new gear and everything. But traveling over there, I would not want to do that alone necessarily. And there's people in our group that are coming with us that are not really experienced. And so we have Jagat and his team over there of porters, and so they've lined up everything for us. Our hotels where we're going to stay at. We have to acclimate. We travel or hike up to different villages along the way and spend a day to acclimate. And he has everything all lined out for us. So he's taking all that guesswork out of our trip to make it as much of a successful trip for me and my family and the group that we're going with over there. And so I kind of liken that to a project manager here. So we get clients that come in the door with us that are experienced and novice and everywhere in between as far as investing, and some are very, very savvy, and like Steve said, some are very just figuring it out and so forth. And so our job is to sit down and to get to know our clients first off. And we get new clients coming in the door all the time. And that's the fun part. We love working with our clients, getting to know them. We often become very, very good friends with them. But we really get to know their objectives, what they have to work with, and like Steve says, we sit down, we start to make a plan. So that really narrows down to what are the options? What assets does someone have to work with, or people that they have to partner with, and really we just narrow down, hey, what are your options, realistic options, and your objectives and what you're trying to accomplish, and then we help them just map out a plan in doing that. We tend to just make it as simplistic as possible and clear as possible. We find that's usually the best way to go about it, basically. The other thing too that we do is we help you understand and get up to speed about Done For You Real Estate, our markets, the process, what to expect when you're working with our agents or with the property managers. How do we actually go about acquiring a property, analyzing it, making sure, hey, does this match your needs? Does it fit within our criteria and our model that we like to have our properties be at Done For You Real Estate? And so there's a lot that's entailed with that. Steve mentioned I spent time at Fidelity Investments. I was in retirement planning with them. And so I love to look at the numbers and the returns and things like that. And that's a big part of the picture when you're investing. Obviously, there's other factors that you consider, like, hey, what are the markets like, the properties, a lot of different factors that we have to, take into account when we're looking at a piece of investment real estate. But the numbers are always fun, and it's a good place to start because it tells us what the potential is with that property and whether it's worth our time and the effort and the risk that we are taking, or you are taking as a client, basically, by investing in that real estate. So what we've done at Done For You is we create a property, we call it an ROI calculator, return on investment calculator. And if Carson, if you could pull that up for me real quick. I don't think you'll be able to see this because there's a lot of numbers on this, but really, if I have someone come in and say, hey, I have $50,000 to start with, what will that look like over time for me? And so we'll talk about the markets and the different options and returns and appreciation rates that we've experienced and what we foresee in the future, and we can kind of project that out. But so this is a game plan summary, and I had a client that has a goal and has the means every year, with a work bonus that they get to purchase a property a year, and it's kind of fun to start seeing this. And so I sit down and I say, okay, if we bought two properties or one property, say like in Florida, this was actually Memphis in the first year, and a Florida property the next year. And then we went on, and I think we ended up with two Memphis, two Florida, and then projected out buying an Indianapolis property in year 5. What does that look like over time for someone? And this is kind of the fun part because it tells us the potential of real estate. Now, granted, this is a kind of a linear projection, just like you would do with any other investment. And so we try to be a little bit conservative on our projections, meaning our main variables that we kind of project are, and we have to kind of guess at, our appreciation rates on our property. So how much equity are we going to earn on average year over year? And then really our rent increases. How much rent are we going to see as an increase over time as well? And then we throw in some other key factors like, hey, what is my mortgage balance? If you're financing that property, we can just do an amortization schedule. So we show like, hey, that mortgage is being paid down over time. And a number of other factors and so forth. So this is kind of summarizing, a property bought each year over a course of 5 years, and what does this look like for this individual? And I'll go out to year 9 since this is on the screen here, but in year 10 is right there. We can actually take it. Oh, thanks, Carson. There you go. So we have 5 properties. Year 10, if he just held onto these properties, his net cash flows based off of a estimated 4 to 5%, annual rent increase is kind of what we see our typical properties average over time. And appreciation, he'd be close to almost $2,900 a month in cash flow in 10 years. And obviously we can look at it year by year basically. And I'm not going to take a lot of time to go into this and so forth. The other fun thing to do is I have what we call a net sales proceeds. And so if he liquidated all 5 of those properties in year 10 and we knock off the mortgage balances, we pay those off, we pay realtor commissions, some closing costs, what are we going to pocket basically? So let's see here. I can't see. I think this is, let's see here. Can you scroll back over, Carson? I can't tell which line I'm on. So net sales amount. Okay, so it's this one right here. So I think it's about $443,000 or $444,000. I was just adding this up. Total out of pocket on finance deals that this gentleman would actually invest over a 5-year period would probably be just over $200,000. And so between a property, your main areas where you're actually making money are the cash flows and then the appreciation basically. So we're not trying to fluff numbers up. Our projections are fairly conservative and as realistic as we can be with this based off of our experience in being in the markets and what we've done with real estate in the past. And so it's really kind of fun. But what this enables me to do as a project manager is to help you as a client visualize, hey, what's the potential of real estate? And you can even compare that to your IRA and other investments and so forth. But it enables me to say, hey, you know what? in year 3 or year 4 or 5 or wherever we're at, we may have enough cash flow saved up and invested to go purchase another property to expand that portfolio even further. Or maybe it's time to sell a property in year whatever, and we can turn that into 2 properties potentially. And so we can kind of start looking at, options down the road of what that piece, or your real estate actually starts to turn into. It's been really, really fun. Like Steve mentioned, 5-6 years ago, we were having our clients, and even a little sooner than that, but we've had our clients purchase in Vegas and in Phoenix. Great time to buy. Cash flows were kind of they're okay. We were positive territory, but that wasn't too exciting. But we really had a great opportunity for growth now. So part of my day as a project manager, and we will do this with all of our clients as they progress with their real estate, is in the mornings, I take my mornings and I call my clients that have properties in Vegas and Phoenix still, and we're doing a review. We're pulling values and just saying, hey, how are things going? We're giving them a market update and saying, hey, this is a great time to start considering to sell based off of where they're at with their property and so forth. And so we have a lot of our existing clients starting to sell and do 1031 exchanges and moving into different markets like Indy or Memphis or Orlando. And in most cases, they're at least doubling cash flow. And in a lot of cases, they have enough equity from the sale of 1 to go into 2 properties. Not always the case, but they're bettering their position basically based off of that. So that's been kind of a fun thing to do. So this is part of our game plan. And like I said, we really just look at what options do we have to start with, and then where can that take us basically. So our job as a project manager is really to get you ready to shop, really help you understand the process, what to expect, understanding, property managers to, your homeowner's insurance that you would have on your properties, to introducing you to Colby or Nick from our financial planners, and Diana, just to know, hey, what are you doing with your cash flows? Are you just sticking them in the bank account? Are you investing those? Or are you applying that to principal? So we just help you kind of nail down those details to make your plan as effective as it can be to put you ahead in the future, basically. So another thing too, if you just want to pull up the next one, and this is a pro forma. The other fun part of my job is, once I get a client ready to shop and they're comfortable with moving forward and they're looking at properties, they always will receive a pro forma, which just outlines the numbers on those properties. And this is, I don't know, maybe Carson doesn't get, it's coming. So, but anyways, and I'm not going to go into a lot of the details on this. We, part of what we do to help you understand that is really go through the pro forma, understand how we calculate our returns, all the numbers and everything like this. But it's fun for me because I'll have a conversation with the client, and not always do they come back to me because our agents are very, very knowledgeable and skilled. I mean, they're boots on the ground in the market. But a lot of times I'll have a client come back and say, hey, Nate, what do you think about this property? And we'll go pull up the address, and I'd love to copy and paste that address into Google so it pulls up the street view. We're scrolling around the neighborhood, getting as good a look as we can for, compared to not being there, but of the neighborhood. And then I just review like, hey, this property really fits the criteria and what I see as a bread and butter property of what we see come through Strongbrook and what our clients really have success with. Or if there's a red flag, then we bring that up as well. And if there is a major red flag, which doesn't happen too often, every once in a while, but we turn away from that and just keep shopping basically. But I highlight, hey, let's look at our cash flows, our cash on cash return. What's our total out of pocket? Our purchase price range. Does this make sense? Does it add up to what we're trying to accomplish, for you as a client? And voila, it does, and they roll forward with that, and we just help them through that. So that's project managers in a nutshell. We're just kind of your central point of contact. We have relationships with all of our team members, like Steve just outlined, from the property managers to the real estate agents, our acquisitions teams, to our property and casualty insurance agents and so forth. I mean, we're kind of your central hub. And we'll get you up to speed, and you get on your own 2 feet running with us. And then we're there as a backup and a support, and even down the road to help you really look at your portfolio of real estate and look at next steps and different options as you just move along. So anyways, that's all I have. Steve, is that good, or you have any questions? Or I would just say if if you're new clients or potential clients, existing clients, if you haven't had contact with your project manager, give us a call. We love to crunch the numbers, like I'd said, and it's really fun. We can plug in your existing properties too and see, hey, how are they working out over time as well, which is really fun to see. Project managers here too. Sometimes they're called coaches. But our average, I'm going to say this. There's, if anybody has Kurt Cummings, he's a little bit older, but our average age is, I think, 48. But Kurt really kind of skews that for the rest of us. But but my point with saying that is that you're not just getting some kid or person out of high school and doesn't have a lot of experience. We all come with a lot of different experience and background that's very beneficial. That adds a lot of insights and good background and context for helping you to make a plan and move forward with real estate, basically. So with that.
Before you wrap up, before you completely wrap up, we're kind of informal here. So this is like we got 3 hours together, right? That can be an eternity sometimes. But I wanted to ask you a question. So again, many of our audience tonight are existing clients. Are there any specific tips or anything that you can give them that will help them take the most advantage of you as is possible? Meaning this is a resource that you have. So I kind of look at you guys as your business owners. You own a small business and it happens to be the business of real estate. And you ought to be the CEO. You don't necessarily have to be the CEO, the project manager, the garbage picker-upper, the guy, walking through all the homes, doing everything, right? Which is typically what happens in a small business. The benefit of having this team, right, is that you have the ability to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need a CMA on my property in Florida. I just want to know where I'm at with it. Well, you don't have to do all the legwork and figure that out. You don't have to go to Zillow and plug in the address and that kind of a thing. You could just call up Nathan and just say, Nate, I need this, I need that, I need this and another thing, and he'll facilitate the whole process. The idea of having a project manager is that he facilitates everything possible in the flow of real estate for you. So what would you say, how do they best take advantage of your services?
Bribes. Right, Steve?
That can work.
I like brownies. No. I think what Steve said is, I look at us as, we're a relationship manager in a sense. We're there just to get to know you and to help out where we can. And, and like Steve said, it's just to really pick up the phone and shoot us an email. And if we haven't been in contact, we're busy. We're working with a lot of clients, which is a lot of fun. But if we haven't been in contact for a little bit, don't hesitate to give us a call back because it's fun. We like what we do. Looking at your properties, and I see it. There's just our clients are successful. We have such a good and tried and true process and product as far as those investment properties. It's just they work, and so it's fun for us to jump in and to help where you can. So
let me ask this. So we have quite a few clients. We have more than 1,500 clients across the country, and what would you say on a percentage basis, the number of clients who proactively call you versus you, I'll say it, chasing after them to see how things are going?
Like after they bought properties and
stuff? Yeah. So once they're a client and they bought a property and they're maybe they're in a holding pattern because you bought that first property, now you're waiting to build up your next down payment or trying to figure something out. How many times did they call you saying, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to get that next property. Do you have any ideas on how I can, get this put together? Because I'm trying to execute my game plan. My game plan calls for me to buy a property this year. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. Can you help me?
Steve, you're putting me on the spot. So if in that type of a scenario, a lot of times I'll probably.
But how many people are, what percentage of those are coming to you versus you're looking them up and saying to yourself, oh, so-and-so was supposed to buy another property this year. They're supposed to be in a position to do it. I better give them a call versus them chasing you down saying, hey, I'm not sure how to do it. I need you to help me.
That's hard to say. I'd say it's all, I mean, a good chunk of our clients have a good relationship with us, and so they're picking up the phone to call us. I would
Good.
say at least 60-70% of the time.
Very
But
good.
at the same time, I mean, I'm reaching out to clients on a daily basis, and we just uncover opportunities for them constantly too. So I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Well, I asked that question. The reason why I asked that question is sometimes I think that we get in this holding pattern and we kind of forget. Like we put our game plan on the shelf and we forget about like the execution of it. Because it's interesting, every once in a while, like I'll run into somebody like somewhere, one of our clients. And it might even be somebody that I haven't seen for like a year or two. And so I don't necessarily recognize them, but they, for some reason, recognize me. And they're like, hey, Steve. And so I talk to them and ask them how it's going. They're like, oh, yeah, I haven't talked to my project manager in, 18 months. I'm like, what? You got to be talking to your project manager. You got to stay on this thing. You got to pull that game plan off the shelf. And you need to figure out, how do I execute this, and being proactive. So that's why I bring that up, because occasionally, I don't know what the percentage is either, but occasionally I see that. And I'm just hopeful that people are really taking advantage of what we've put in place for them.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
So with that, we can go ahead and give Nathan a round of applause for that.